to be standing up for all the other rights. And it was great to hear, again, the former Prime Minister talk about women's rights and the role of women in fighting climate change. But children's rights are absolutely crucial here too. And in the European Parliament, I was a child rights campaigner. I co-founded a child rights intergroup. And it is not good enough to pay lip service to children's rights if we're not really including them in policy making. You know, I love the way that children speak the truth and are not afraid, you know, to call out the powerful. And so what Greta Thunberg did, you know, to go and stand outside her parliament every single Friday until people took notice was an incredible thing. And we see how across the world young people followed suit and did so many, you know, came out in so many countries because they saw what difference one small child could make. And if you haven't already read Greta Thunberg's book, you know, many of her speeches now have been collected in a short paperback book. Please look at these. Please take inspiration from them. You know, her story is an extraordinary story, but I know that in other places around the world there are other amazing young people who are doing incredible things. I used to participate in a summer school for young people. It was held in a beautiful like palace of social interaction and social entrepreneurship that was on the shores of Lake Geneva, and young people from all around the world would come together. And it wasn't the privileged young people, it was often the young people from the least privileged backgrounds, young carers, the children of prisoners, for example. I remember a Filipino boy who had been an orphan. He'd been living on basically living on a rubbish tip since he was 4 years old in the Philippines. And he actually won the Child Peace Prize one year, but he was there too. And these young people, so we were working with very young children from age 3 years old up to young people of 25 years old, young people with learning disabilities also. And we were working with them to give them the tools to learn how to make policy, how to make action plans, how to plan strategies, how to make campaigns. Basically, I was teaching them the way that I did my job as a lawmaker, as a legislator, and they could do it from age 3 years up, including young people with learning disabilities. And that's because we were listening. We were listening, and we were giving space to young people as experts in their own experience. So children's rights is really important too. Also LGBT rights, you know, we have to have true gender equality. For me, I was on the Women's Rights and Gender Equality Committee, and it wasn't just about women's rights. It's about the rights of people who identify as lesbian, gay, transgender, intersex, queer. And we have to stand up for all those people too, because people do not choose their gender. It's something people feel inside, and we have to really recognize non-binary people and their rights too. I want to speak up for people, for the landless, for the peasants, for workers' rights too, very important. And I know that the former Prime Minister did some excellent work on trade union rights, student rights, and a whole range of rights which many more kind of populist right-wing governments want to get rid of. But we have to stand up for all of those things. And we have to be standing up for those things whilst we're teaching people about the importance of changing habits. because workers are always very scared of losing their jobs. But if their jobs are in unsustainable industry, then we have to have change and we have to have the workers on board. So it's not enough just to say we're going to shut down your industry. We have to talk about diversification, about just transition from the old industries into the new industries, because the workers and the poorest mustn't pay the price. So what about youth leadership next then? So I talked a lot there about human rights. Oh, just one final thing about human rights. I was always really struck in the Parliament how we were defending the human rights defenders. So we got to a position where we weren't just speaking up and defending human rights, but we were having to defend the defenders of human rights. And this is a terrible situation to be in, where the people who would stand up for human rights would themselves be under attack. And I think that many climate activists find themselves in this situation. They're defending the rights of the environment, if you like, of the rivers, of the water, of the ocean, of the animals, and they themselves are under attack. So please, please look for always a way to defend the human rights defenders. So now looking at youth leadership, and maybe I hope I can suggest some positive actions that people can take. First of all, I want us to perhaps just question and query nuclear policy, because whilst it might seem to be carbon net zero, it certainly isn't a clean industry. In my region of the northwest of England, we have one of the biggest nuclear laundries in the whole world, and the legacy for the next generation of highly toxic nuclear waste is a really serious problem. And I would like to see us turn our attention much more to natural energy sources. And I think there is a lot of potential to do this for coastal states, also for a lot of solar energy. There's many things we can do with energy reduction, looking at how when we have new build, we program in a whole range of different energy conservation. So I have to diverge with the former Prime Minister on his pushing forward of nuclear policies, because I would say at the minute that nuclear is actually unsustainable and gives our young people yet one more problem to deal with in the future. But solidarity with all people who are facing climate emergency is very, very important. Let's stand in solidarity with all those people. Education's absolutely crucial. And this time of COVID is a great time for making sure that we're all getting the information, that we're genning ourselves up, that we're forming alliances with different activists and human rights campaigners all around the world, so that when we exit the COVID situation, we're ready to take action and we know who our allies are. Media and digital literacy is absolutely crucial, because the populists, the populists and the people who want to divide us, they're very much also climate deniers, climate change deniers, and it's important that we get savvy with media and digital literacy. In that respect, I want to tell you about a wonderful organisation called the International Child Press Centre, who've been working with young people as journalists, teaching them how to report for themselves and how to question leaders, how to really be, if you like, the journalists and the reporters of the future by already learning how to do this now. I would like to suggest that people should follow the money. And this is something we did in the Parliament. always look at where the money's coming from, where it's going to, where people are investing their money. You know, all of us need to be much more transparent about what we're doing with pension, you know, with our various kind of investments. So ask difficult questions, young people, you know, including of the people speaking on the panel today. I think that I would like people to be pushing for the crime of ecocide. Was very involved in Parliamentarians for Global Action, and we had a couple of seminars and conferences looking at that. It should be an international crime, the crime of ecocide. In the UK, we are going to be hosting COP26 in Glasgow next year. And so I'd invite many of the young people listening, get involved in that. Let's find out how we can have some real solidarity actions, some joint programs and projects, how we can give the most marginalized young people a voice at COP26. And where I'm living, I'm literally only about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from Glasgow. So I hope I can be truly active in this this gathering next year. So yes, young people, demand the space, okay? It's yours, you have to take it. In the UK, we now have UK Student Climate Network, which is young people who organise Fridays for Future strikes. They're very active in the student climate action campaign, but we also have parents and grandparents for the future. And I am also one of those. So I'm going to continue my climate change activism as a parent for the future, standing in solidarity with Fridays for the Future. And I think next year I might be grandparents standing for the future as well. So good luck to you all. Please keep in touch, and I will do whatever I can to help create the space for young people to be listened to and for their recommendations to be taken on board. Thank you.
Thank you very much.